Chapter 2. After a few hours had passed, Hannah suggested they stop and have a snack. The snow was really coming down. It was hard to see your hand in front of your face. Jacob found an old log lying on the ground and brushed it off for the girls to sit down. He didn't want to admit it, but he had been thinking about his mom a lot during the past few hours. You know, girls, I think we should head back home. It's really cold. And if Mom finds out about this, she is going to blow a gasket. Emily smiled and said, I don't know what a gasket is, but I have a feeling if she blows it, we're in big trouble. I'm glad you want to go back, Jacob. I'm getting homesick and it sure would feel good to snuggle with Polar Bear. Hannah looked around and in flat tones said, Yeah, that would be nice. I don't know which way leads to home. Just finish eating your apples. We'll follow our footprints back. What footprints? Jacob yelled. I can't even see your big face. He screamed as a tear ran down his cheek. Emily felt so sorry for her brother. Don't worry, Jacob. Hannah will get us back home and then we can sing Christmas songs, fix some hot chocolate, and Mom will cook us a nice warm dinner as she dances around the kitchen, she said, trying to console him. Later we can all read a story about when Jesus was born in the stable. Did you know that Jesus' father's name was Joseph and he was a carpenter, just like you, Jacob? Just then they heard a strange noise. Don't move, guys. I don't know what that was, Hannah whispered. Emily moved close to Jacob. He put his arm around her tiny shoulders. I won't let anything happen to you, Emmy, he said in a comforting voice. They heard the noise again. It was coming from a pile of trees that had fallen during a bad snowstorm the week before. Hannah was so scared her legs felt like jelly. All she could think about was being home, safe and sound with her mom and Mr. Matt. She stood up, walked over to the twins, knelt down, and looked into their frightened eyes. Look at me, she said. Everything is going to be okay. She cautiously walked over to the broken branches and pulled back the top layer, one branch at a time, until she saw something move. Then she heard it again, a piercing cry. Oh, creepers! Screamed Hannah. What was under the branches? Would it jump up and attack all three of them? She was almost paralyzed with fear. She turned and looked at Jake and Jim and Emily one more time and then picked up a large, icy stick that was lying on the ground next to them. She used the stick to move one branch, and then she saw it. There was a tiny little black puppy. He was covered with snow. His little brown eyes were looking up at her. His little pink mouth was open and making the saddest little cries. Jake, Emily, come take a look, Hannah said in a whisper. They ran over to the pile of branches and looked down. The puppy became silent and just stared back at them, waiting to be rescued. I wonder how he got lost, questioned Emily. Duh, maybe the same way we did. I'm sure his sister said, let's skip school and go play in the snow, said Jacob. Not fazed by Jacob's sarcastic remark, Emily reached down and picked up the shivering little guy and held him close to her chest. Hannah took off her scarf and handed it to Emily. Wrap him up in the scarf, Emmy, Hannah instructed. Emily wrapped him up and walked over to her backpack. She pulled out her thermos of milk, and the shivering puppy sipped it in large gulps. Girls are so silly, smirked Jacob, afraid of a little puppy. What are we going to do now? We can't leave him here. We'll have to take him home with us. Hannah raised her voice, which echoed loudly through the trees. You mean if we find our way home, she howled. Emily started to cry and Hannah felt bad. She had to be brave to protect her younger brother and sister. Come on, Emily. Let's think of a name for the puppy, she said, trying to get her mind off of the dire situation. Emily's face lit up. Let's name him Snowball because it's snowing. What? Screeched Jacob. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. He's black, Emily. Have you ever seen a black snowball? Hannah snickered a little bit in spite of how upset she was about the whole situation. We're going to name him Jackson because he's a boy, he's tough, and I'm tired. Come on, let's go find our way home.